Welcome to Meet the Truth, the Carnivore X Productions. I'm Jason Barrett, the Carnivore Pharmacist. This is where we cut through the noise, reclaim health, and tell the truth, one bite at a time. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Meet the Truth, the podcast where we cut through the noise, expose the health lies we've all been sold, and shine a light on the stories that actually change lives. Today, I've got a special guest, my very first guest on the show, and trust me, you're going to want to lean in on this one. His name is Kyle Tubbs, Executive Director, Ordained Minister, Executive Coach, Marathoner, and yes, an amateur stand-up comedian. But here's what makes his story matter. He's a regular guy who used a meat-based diet to completely turn his life around. He went from being tired playing with his kids to running ultramarathons. He healed a long list of issues doctors couldn't fix, and he did it without a medical degree, without a nutrition certification, and without being born with superhuman genetics. Just discipline, experiments, and a willingness to go from 90% to 100% on carnivore. He's launching a brand new platform called Miles Meets Mikes, and today he's being fully vulnerable and honest about what worked, what didn't, and how the lion diet literally brought him back from the worst health of his life. Kyle, brother, welcome to Meet the Truth.
Hey, it's good to be here, my friend. Thank you so much for asking me to be on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, man, take us back. Before carnivore, what were you struggling with? What was life like?
I didn't know I was struggling. I just liked things like fast food and probably drank a little bit too much alcohol here and there. Not like an alcoholic, just, I didn't realize how terrible that was for me. I didn't even know the difference between like fats and carbohydrates and proteins. You don't realize how ignorant I really was. And at the end of this, you'll probably realize I'm still pretty ignorant, but I'm like not as ignorant as I was. But I don't know. I had standard American diet. Even though I was an active person, I just was gaining weight each year. I was getting more lethargic. I had a lot of problems that I didn't even realize I had. But starting in 2022, I was playing with my kids on the floor. My kids are 9 and 6 now, so they would have been around maybe 6 and 3. And when I was wrestling with them, they were beating me in wrestling, and they thought I was letting them win, but I was just like, I was tired. My kids wanted to play with me, and I would be too tired to kick a soccer ball or wrestle with them. I just knew something wasn't right, and I had to do something about it. So,
yeah, I know the feeling. I've been there, been with that as well. Was there a breaking point? Was it a moment where you said, I'm done feeling this way?
Oh, yeah. So an interesting thing happened. I've always been someone that if I have a goal, it helps me work toward it day by day. Well, I had a friend who invited me in early 2022. It was the OKC marathon to do a half marathon. And he was like, oh, you're active, anybody can walk a half marathon type thing. So I don't remember the day. I could look it up. It was like April 22nd, maybe, of 2022, April 20th. And I walked this half marathon, and my body was sore for literally weeks just walking a half marathon. It was so, and like I knew that there was something wrong and I had to do something about it. Cause like for someone who I've always been active in a sense of like, playing church basketball, playing slow pitch softball. I've never been somebody just sit on the couch, but to not be able to just walk 13.1 miles without being miserable, I knew physically I had to do something different. Now at the time, I didn't know how much diet played a factor. I thought I could just sort of, walk and the fat would fall off and I would feel better. But that was a big moment for me. Not being able to wrestle with my kids and then just the pain from walking a half marathon.
Yeah. That's actually shocking. What shocked you the most about what healed once you started doing carnivore? List off especially the big changes.
Yeah. So we can go backwards in a second, but can I just like list off a bunch of
Absolutely,
outcomes,
yeah,
a bunch of benefits?
Yes.
Okay, we can go more into detail. And I know like a big one is I had what's called idiopathic, which means they don't know how I got it. Chronic, which means it happened over months and months period of time. Neutropenia. So my neutrophils, which makes up the majority of your white blood cells, were almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They were my neutrophils were at 0.01. They're supposed to be at 1.6 or higher.
Yeah. Wow.
My
Almost
white
non.
blood, yeah, my overall white blood count was 0.60, and that's supposed to be around 4.0 or above. Okay, again, those are minimums. That's not that's not ideal. We'll go backwards, and I'll tell you more. But I I was able through the Lion diet, which was meat, little bit of salt, and water, really strict for about 6 months. I was able to totally heal that. Which when I went into Grok and Chat GPT and I put in like all of my results and asked them like, what are the chances that I would go into remission on this condition? Both of them are like, we can't find any case studies. We would put it at less than 1% because there's no way for you to do this. But the interesting thing was I found people in carnivore communities online who had very similar type stories who were like, oh yeah, through fasting and carnivore, we were able to heal this, or I had a son, or I had a dad, or somebody. So I found people who had done similar things and they were able to heal. And so I mean I'm totally healed. There's not like there's nothing underlying. There's nothing I'm battling now. I'm just totally healed from that. Which the doctors had told me, we can put you on immunosuppressants. We could take out your spleen. Let's see if maybe your white blood cells are hanging out in your spleen. I was just like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. So I asked the doctors. I was going to do it anyway, but I was like, what if I just tried a diet before we tried anything else? And they didn't like it, but they listened to me enough. And it's really interesting because I got a little bit of pushback, but because I'm healthy now, they just find the whole thing interesting and they've celebrated with me. So that's been good. I actually went to the Mayo Clinic and got a second look from those doctors. And this was about like midway through healing. And the
Mm-hmm.
Mayo Clinic actually said, hey, just keep doing exactly what you're doing. Because if it's working, that's great. But here, let me list off a couple of some other things. My mood is great. I didn't realize that I was moody until all of a sudden I'm not moody. I get incredible sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just tracking it with, my wearable device where I can go, oh, these numbers are good. You just feel better. You feel rested. I don't need to take naps. I get good sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I had some, I won't go into great detail here, but definitely some inconsistent bowel type issues where I was always worried like, hey, I got to know where the restroom is type thing. And I just don't really have to worry about that anymore. And so to not have that is actually pretty freeing. I mean that literally. I lost a lot of fat. I was about 239, got down to 165. And I've actually put on like 5 to 10 pounds in the last year. And I think that's probably more just like muscle in my body evening out the way it's supposed to be. Overall, my mind is clear. I feel like I don't have brain fog anymore. I didn't know I had brain fog. I thought brain fog was just normal, but I don't have that anymore. I used to have a stiff neck. Like I was constantly doing like this with my neck. My neck isn't stiff anymore. So who knows what that stopped in its path? I know I've listened to your story before. So who knows what was in my future there?
Oh yeah. You may have for sure.
I have much smoother skin. I've had some skin issues throughout my life, and my skin overall is just a lot smoother. I used to sunburn really easy. I couldn't tell you the last sunburn that I got.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And literally just, I can be out in the sun whenever. I don't sunburn anymore. Overall, it's like I didn't realize I had inflammation all the time until it's gone. Like just in like joints and hands. So I used to have stiff hands, and I'm sure it was part of that. I've been doing these marathons. I walk. I call it hoofing because if you're running, you're faster than me. If you're walking, I'm probably a little faster than you. So I call it hoofing. It's just somewhere in between. But my hands used to get real stiff and inflamed if I did long distances, and that's gone. I don't have that happen anymore. I have overall stable energy for exercise. I
Mhm.
did a couple of marathons this summer with no carbs, and I just didn't need anything. I mean, I always thought like, what, you got to have calories, you got to have, carbohydrates or something, to get you through races, and I don't need that anymore. So that's nice. So that's like a myth. People, are like, you gotta have carbs. You gotta have carbs. You don't have to have carbs. I'm literally doing ultra marathons with no carbs. So
Right,
um,
right.
that a couple of other just like random things. Uh, a lot of my gray has gone back to blonde. I don't know how long that'll last. Um, but it's just an interesting thing. I used to have all these splotches all over, and they've gone back to blonde. My eyes used to get really dry, and I used to use eye drops. I don't use eye drops anymore. I'm on zero medications whatsoever. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I took a medication for anything.
Yeah.
No medications for anything. My testosterone is way up. My testosterone before I started this was like a little bit below 400, and now it is above 800. So it's like
Wow.
literally taking TRT. That's the
Just
that's the
naturally. Just naturally.
that's what Carnivore has done for me.
Yes.
And I will say this, and there might be I'm a minister, there might be people from my churches, so I won't go into great detail, but I will just say that when your testosterone is up and you're feeling good, and there are lots of uh health benefits that are wonderful for men. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's good. And testosterone isn't just about, sexual health. There's a lot, testosterone affects everything, but there's
Oh,
lots of benefits there. I feel like socially I'm able to be just a good husband, a good father, a good friend. I'm a good uh boss. I'm a good uh minister because I'm level, and my hormones are level. I think clear. I don't overreact to things. I used to have a bit of a twitchy nervous system,
mhm.
like I don't like literally twitchy, and I don't have that anymore. So I guess
Yeah.
that went away. I used to have really bad allergies, and
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't mean like if something blows in this Oklahoma wind, I'm not gonna sneeze. I mean, that's
Right.
it. That's still possible, but I mean, I used to wake up in the morning, my throat would burn. I would be real sneezy in the morning. I
Mhm.
don't know. I just don't have that anymore. Um, I used to get inflammation in my knee from a variety of things, and I sometimes my knee would like lock up because the inflammation was so bad,
Yeah.
and
The joint.
that's
Yeah.
gone. That's totally gone. I mean,
Wow.
it's non-existent now. Um, I used to have ear pain, and I don't even know how to describe it. I would like have to pop my ear sometime,
Huh.
and that's gone. Uh, I used to snore. That's gone. I used to have asthma. That's gone. I used to get kidney stones. That's gone. So it's like and I'm sure I'm even forgetting things now. The thing was, that was my normal. So I didn't even realize what life could be like with all of those things weighing me down.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's huge. I mean, think about the amount of things you just listed off and how connected all those things are. And you may not have realized any of those had a common denominator. I know I didn't. I was just like you. I mean, your story reverberates closely to mine. You had a few different things. I didn't have the neutrophils and stuff like that, but of course, I had erosion in my C1 and C2 vertebra for God knows why. No one could tell me, including the Mayo Clinic. And I mean, it was head to toe. I mean, I literally, it was a systemic, chronic, inflammatory thing. Had no idea there could be a metabolic tie or that any sort of diet on the planet could get to the source of the problem in such a
Yep.
profound way. I wish I had known that a decade prior. It would have saved me a lot, a lot of.
Right there with you, buddy.
I'm so used to being in that condition, you forget what normal feels like. You just when you sleep like crap and you wake up and you got brain fog, you don't when you have brain fog, you don't know you have brain fog. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You don't wake up and go, I have brain fog. I wish it'd go away. It is not until it goes away that you go, wow, I had brain fog. All of a sudden, I can think more clearly. I can articulate words easier. I can recall information. I can remember names. I feel better. You just wake up more optimistic, and all of a sudden, life is good again, except before maybe you kind of took it for granted, and then when you
Yeah.
get it a second chance at it, it's very
Oh yeah.
powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So most people, dabble at like 80 to 90% carnivore, and they wonder
Yeah.
why they're not seeing dramatic results. What did going 100% unlock for you?
Yeah. So that's huge. And in some ways, I'm the worst carnivore. Like it took me a couple of years to figure this carnivore thing out. So when I first started carnivore, I thought that meant I could go to like a fast food Chinese restaurant and just get like chicken.
Yeah.
That's literally what the type thing, or like, like, sure, let's go put frozen chicken nuggets in the, or
Yeah.
like those were
Yeah.
the sorts of things I was doing. I would like eat carnivore for like a version of carnivore, at least for 5 days. On the weekends, I might eat pizza and ice cream. I mean, it was just like, I was increasing my protein intake. It was not carnivore. But the interesting thing is, like, the very first year in 2022, I did ribeye July. I only ate ribeyes for the month, and I felt like the best I had ever felt. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And that at the time, I wasn't processing how pure of a carnivore I was eating. I just knew it made me feel better. But then I was experimenting as well. I mean, I did more of a ketovore. I tried more with keto. I was just experimenting with my body and trying to figure out what worked for me or didn't work for me. So, one of the greatest blessings that ever happened to me, though, was when I got really sick. And at this point, we may never know what caused what's called this idiopathic chronic neutropenia.
Right.
Every doctor I've been to at this point just says, hey, something viral. You came across something viral, and it was creating sort of an autoimmune like condition in my body.
Yep.
Where it was depleting my white blood cells. So it's a very odd thing. I was tested for every virus you could possibly imagine that you've never even heard of. I was tested for. I did multiple bone marrow biopsies to make sure that I didn't have cancer or, all these other things.
Yep.
We never really knew. And basically, what the doctors thought was, hey, you're going to have to just be on immunosuppressants or hide from people or, have some experimental surgeries or whatever. This is just going to be your reality until you die. And I'm like, that's not going to be my reality until I'm going to do something different. So that's when I knew the carnivore pathway because I had been sort of in this environment, again, like 80, 90% carnivore. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go 100%. And when I went 100%, I mean, not only did it heal an unhealable disease or condition or whatever that thing was that was literally plaguing me, I got all of these other benefits skyrocketed. So the thing is like, I already had benefits going 80, 90% carnivore. There were a lot of wonderful benefits. And if somebody only goes 80 or 90%, I guess that's better than the standard American diet. But if I could just beg anyone who's sort of in that 80, 90% stage to give 100% a chance and just see how it feels. Now, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I mean, I'm not pretentious enough to think that I can speak for everyone's health, but I can speak for my own health. And I can tell you that going 100% made like a tenfold benefit. Like that last 10 to 20% was exponentially greater than the first 80 or 90%, if that makes any sense.
It does to me. And just to kind of explain the science behind that, what a lot of people don't realize about the carnivore diet when they hear about it, especially if you're only doing it for weight loss, if you're only doing it for that, I don't think you're quite as desperate as maybe some people who have lost their health and they have no hope, like some of the stories, kind of like your story, Kyle, where they're telling you it's not going away, you need to stay away from people. I mean, if you had accepted that label, that would have affected the entire rest of your life, and it would have been a pretty dark, hopeless place, if you want me to be honest with you. I'm glad you rejected it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. But the reason why the carnivore diet works. It's not that meat is magical, because I'm like you. I tried various different diets even before carnivore because it kind of sounded crazy to me being a pharmacist and learning about the dangers of red meat and cholesterol in pharmacy school, and then you just hear it out, you hear it out and about. I had kind of reserved that one, and I had tried, paleo, Mediterranean, the low starch diet, the autoimmune protocol. I had tried dozens of diets. And I did notice, like you said, when I went keto, I noticed some benefit, but it was marginal compared to what I got. I mean, it was like exponentially smaller compared to what I eventually got on carnivore. And so what you got to remember is that carnivore is an elimination diet. It's
Right.
giving your body high quality protein, high quality fats, all the essentials when it comes to macronutrients, no sugar, so it's not going in there and causing a bomb. And then it's cutting out all the stuff that you see in the standard American diet, whether that's fast food or at the grocery store. If you're in the middle of that store, you're not staying to the outside edges, there is going to be, seed oils in everything these days. They've got preservatives, they got excessive grains and refined all kinds of stuff. They've got basically lipstick and polish to make it look better, last longer, taste perfect. They actually do scientific experiments to find the bliss point so that when you eat it, it is so amazing that it causes you to basically, it's very addictive. It's very addictive, and when you eat it, there's a reason they call it comfort food. It is comfortable for 30 minutes or an hour, and then you crash. But no, I'm just like,
drug.
yeah, it is 100%. I mean, it literally is. It's hitting the same. You're getting the same addictive reward in your brain, and then subsequently you're getting dopamine to drive you to go back and want to eat it again and again and again and again and again. And it can easily. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm probably I'm one of the world's worst sugar fiends. I didn't realize it while I was still eating it, but once I got off of it and we went carnivore, I was like, holy crap. I mean, if I tried to even have one bite of a cookie, boom, I just relapsed, and I'm going to go eat 10,000 calories of nothing but carbohydrates and just explode in inflammation. So no, that's very key that you said that, because I couldn't agree more. And I would also encourage, if anybody's especially if you're suffering from chronic inflammation, or if you have an autoimmune disorder, or if they're telling you there's no hope, please, I wish someone had told me to try this a decade earlier than I did. Give it 30 days and go all out carnivore, nothing else. Don't have a cheat meal, don't have a cheat day.
Yeah.
If I have to reverberate what you said, it may not work. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but here's the best news. It's likely to have a positive impact because it completely changed our lives. And also, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Check it off the list and on to the next. Go try whatever you want to try next. But I wish someone would have told me before I went through the first 372 doors and they didn't work that door 373 was carnivore. Just start there. Start there. You know what I'm saying? So were there any benefits that you just flat out did not expect that just showed up? I know you touched on a few, but were there any others?
Yeah, so a lot was around the mental, we'll call it mental health. I had anxiety that I didn't know I had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'm guessing I just had anxiety ever since I was a kid, and then all of a sudden, my anxiety is gone. I'm like,
Right.
that's interesting. And I think everything's so connected. I told you I was twitchy. It's like I had a twitchy nervous system. Well, the fact that's gone, anxiety's gone, more mental clarity, better mood. I did not expect how eating was going to change the mental side of things, and like personality for the better. I'm not harsh. I've never been intentionally unkind, but I just feel like I'm a kinder, more accepting, understanding person. I that's so hard to predict, and it's interesting because I've heard so many people talk about the mental benefits of carnivore, but it's almost always starts with something physical going on in someone. But there's definitely this this connection. Of course, I'm a minister, so there's also a spiritual component here that I think needs to be explored more and considered more. I also do a little bit of fasting. I'm no fasting expert. I it's not even that I'm intentionally intermittent fasting. I just don't need to. I don't need. You know, I generally eat about a lunch and about a dinner, and
Mhm.
so I don't know. Some people will call that 18-6. You know, the intermittent fasting. But I do once a month. I do about a 72-hour fast.
Yep.
I'll eat on a Sunday night and then not eat again till a Wednesday night.
Mhm.
And then I did an 8-day fast back earlier in the year. Um, and there is something that happens within you when you just get this clarity when a lot of these things within your body that is stored within your body leave. It's almost hard to explain unless somebody experiences it. So to me, it's sort of hand in hand. The fasting has been really helpful. It gives me um, I don't know, like a framework to tap into something that I didn't have before. And a lot of that is
Mhm.
because I'm not taking in these detrimental things like seed oils, which
Right.
it's so unbelievable that we put that stuff in our bodies. It's just gross.
It's yeah. It's
I
yeah.
never thought about it before. I didn't know it was that big of a deal. Now that I know about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I like every day for,
Yeah.
I'm 39 now. So up in, how many years did I put stuff like that in my body almost every single day?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's in everything these days. It's in things you would never suspect it to be in. That's the problem is it's cheap and it lasts a long time. But the problem is, seed oils, if it was done in a cleaner way, they wouldn't be as bad as they are. The problem is the extraction process. They either do it through high heat or through chemical extraction. And in that process, it oxidizes the seed oils. And when you oxidize anything like that, I mean, they can. There's even such Buffalo Wild Wings are now using tallow in their wings, so it makes it seem like it's clean now. Except they've actually gone in and seen the kind of tallow that they're using, and they've been oxidized. They do that for a reason. It makes them last longer. It makes it to where they can reuse that oil hundreds of times without having to get rid of it. But when you're pouring jet fuel on a fire day in and day out, you are just feeding that fire all the way down to the cellular level. It's not just like, oh, my elbow hurts because I've got a little bit of inflammation. It goes all the way. Your bone marrow was affected by the
Yeah,
food you were eating. I mean, that's crazy. It went all the way down to the neutrophil level. That is, like you said,
yeah,
that's
absolutely. Yep, yep. And I'm not the first person to point this out, but you literally are what you eat.
yes,
So I
yes.
don't want to be seed oils. I want to be a ribeye.
Exactly. Well, and
It,
then on your fasting point, isn't it amazing that we have the capability to do that? I mean, think back ancestrally. I'm talking go back thousands of years to like caveman days.
yeah,
We didn't have grocery stores and restaurants and 3 meals a day. Are you kidding me? It was feast or famine. Like they may not eat for a week, and their body had to use the fat stores. Thank God, we can do that, and they were just fine. And then when they found some food, okay, but they better eat it before it ruins because there was no refrigeration, no preservatives, none of that stuff was around, and we were able to do it then. We still have that within us, and so and
yeah,
especially if you're in a ketogenic diet like carnivore, your body's gonna tap into your fat stores and burn it. You're not gonna be
absolutely.
starving to death the
Yep.
whole time. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Yeah, I mean, and that's such a huge benefit if you are already carnivore. So you're already in ketosis to then be able to jump into this super deep ketosis through fasting.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know. People always ask me what that know that I fast. They're like, is that really hard? Is it really hard? I mean, sort of. It definitely takes some discipline, but
Yeah.
once you figure it out,
Yep.
there's almost like this high that you look forward to
Yep.
that you get when you're fasting that you can't get otherwise. There's benefits and clarity, and sometimes I do writing or
Yeah.
I'm thinking through a problem, whether it's something with
Mhm.
work or like joke writing, that sort of thing that I always achieve anytime I'm in a deep fast that I just can't get to otherwise.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And I mean, there's reasons, there's science behind that. Our body has a metabolic process that once there's an absence of food for long enough, will interstates like autophagy, which is when your body can go up and clean up any old cells that are maybe they needed to be repaired or replaced
Yeah.
a while ago, but it's been under a toxic burden of constant, seed oils and bad foods. And it's like, okay, I'll deal with that later. And it's letting them hang around longer than they should. Well, once it finally gets a break from that, it can recycle those old cells and give you brand new ones. Also, mitophagy, it's right there on the same. That's your mitochondria. That's the powerhouse and every. That's a little engine in every cell you've got in your body. That's why you get mental clarity. That's why your body can go through and it can. Your gut gets a break. The lining of your gut can repair. There's so many benefits to it.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't want to do it just for a month straight. Obviously, you got to do it you got to bring food back at some point. But I will say this, now that this ketogenic diet makes it so much easier to fast because you don't go through the sugar withdrawals and
Exactly. Yeah.
the carb depletion. I mean, it is so much easier, kind of at a massive advantage, if you will. On that wavelength, bro, ultra marathons on zero carbs, that breaks people's reality. I mean, that has to. So how did your endurance change? Because that's massive. I mean, we're not just talking about a regular marathon.
Yeah.
How long is an
So,
ultra marathon?
yeah. So, the longest I've done is about 35.5 miles. Technically, an ultra marathon is just longer than a regular marathon. And there's people who do these like 50 and 100 miles. I'm hoping next summer, there's one that, let's see how long that would be. I think it's 52 miles because it's like basically two marathons back to back. I'm hoping to do one next summer that's 52 miles. I don't remember how many kilometers that is. I'm trying to do the math. That's the thing, trying to do the math between kilometers and miles sometimes. It's just I'm not great with math, but so I think it's somewhere around 52 miles. That's another spiritual exercise, doing these really long races. It's like I reach a high, like they talk about runner's high. I reach a high at around maybe 18 miles. That cannot be achieved any other way. If you knew me before, I've always been very active. I'm much more of a clown than I am an athlete. It is what it is. I got glasses. I'm unathletic. I'm not aggressive. I don't have great skill, but I always like participating in sports because I think sports are fun. So when I started getting into that, after I did that half marathon, I said, I'm going to set a goal in front of me. So I don't want to do another half marathon. I want to do a full marathon. So that was in April of 2022. So I said, I'm going to work to do a full marathon. And I did a full marathon in December of that year. And even that very first marathon that I did, switching over to that 80 to 90% carnivore helped significantly in my preparation, during the event itself, during recovery afterwards. And now it's like not a big deal at all. Like I could just walk outside and do a marathon right now. It's just not a big deal to me anymore. I do have one that I'm going to do here in a couple of weeks in Tulsa. It's a cool marathon. You do half on a mountain and then you do half on a road. I anticipate on continuing to do this, but I went from like somebody who looked like they watched a lot of TV to now being in this ultra community. And I love it. By the way, the ultra community is super supportive. It's very different. I like to do a lot of trails. And so you're not sprinting. Everybody's just encouraging each other. I've literally finished last in a marathon before, which, by the way, not the greatest feeling when you like get to the finish line and everyone's like, hey, good, now we can pack this thing up because, this little fatty finally finished.
Man. I mean, you got to the finish line though. There had to be some.
But I don't know. It still feels good. And I don't finish last anymore, but I don't know. I love it. It gives me something to do, something to work on. I put a lot of miles in. It keeps my blood flowing, my heart pumping. I have a dog who loves to go on these long hoofing exercises with me. And so, it gets me in vitamin D outside. It's just something that I do every single day. I just feel like I get mental clarity from doing that sort of thing. I used to try to get a pick me up from like going through the drive-through somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe having a donut. I would try to get these little sugar highs. And now I look back and that was so detrimental because it would be like, oh, I'm tired. Okay, I'll go try to, get this burrito. That's going to help me. And then I might have a little sugar high for an hour. Then I'm going to crash. I do nothing for the day. And then now I'm just like, oh, just go for a little jog, little pick me up, feeling good, get a lot of mental clarity. Then I have a phone call. I just feel good for the rest of the day. I don't know. It all works together. I know that you people who have like, science and health degrees, you're like, yeah, we all know this. But for dummies like me, who had to learn this later in life, like I'm an idiot, I'm just a regular guy, but to actually do the things that all of you people who actually know what you're talking about are like, hey, you should get good sleep. You should not eat so many carbohydrates. You should get exercise. I'm like, hey, yeah, that works. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, there's so much stress in some of these healthcare fields that people don't realize that most of the time the humanness side of it wins. Even if you know what was going on in your body, you still crave those things. You still want that
Right.
comfort food, and you still get the dopamine and all the endorphins that hit. Which, by the way, the runner's high that's your body's natural endorphins. That's why it feels good,
Yep.
and you don't have to crash afterwards. It's not some artificial thing. So, I mean. So how do you explain that your body performs better without glucose? I just want to hear your thoughts on
Well,
that because
so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to uh, the idea of cravings. I
okay.
didn't know the difference between hunger and cravings until cravings were gone. I don't really have cravings anymore. I might be hungry. And the cool thing is about carnivore, if you're hungry, you can eat when you're hungry. But if I get hungry now, I can wait 1, 2, 3 hours if I need to, or longer if I needed to. But I've learned to listen to my body tell me what I need, as opposed to like my brain tricking me into, hey, you need this drug called
Yeah.
sugar. So uh my body, again, I listen to my body when I'm out. If I need something, I can eat something. I mean, I took like some beef jerky, that I can pull out and eat just because I'm bored, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't even necessarily think I need it on runs now, but I mean, I can have it if I have it. If it's anything under like 10 miles, I definitely don't need anything now.
Right.
But I didn't need anything my last two. But I know that some people still do. Like maybe they'll eat, uh, because they need some fat or something. I don't know. I've learned to listen to my body. My body tells me when I need something or I don't need something, and it's really as simple as that. I mean, I totally respect researchers, so I'm not like anti-research. Okay,
Right.
but
Right.
there is also something intuitive within each of us
Mm-hmm.
that I don't need to rely on a researcher to tell me when I'm supposed to eat. I can actually, like, what about before all of this research? What did people do? Oh, you had to listen to your body. And so that's what I've tapped into something, more primal.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that answer. I want to dive in, not super deep, but I just want to talk about the science behind it for why you're able to do that. I can't emphasize that enough. An ultra marathon with no glucose. He's not having to stop to replenish every 30 minutes to an hour. Maybe some water and some electrolytes, but no sweet sugary concoctions or anything like that. And the reason why is because our body innately has the ability to produce glucose on demand through a process called gluconeogenesis through the liver. And can do it with precision. Your body knows what's going on. If you're taking a nap versus on a roller coaster versus running from your life from a bear or running an ultra marathon or anything in between, it knows what's going on and it can essentially fire up the process. And that's why you have that longevity. Otherwise, you would be in a hypoglycemic crisis in no time on the ground, unable
Yeah.
to move. Thank God our body can do that. And I mean, that's just huge that you've pushed it to such an extreme. And I think, when we spoke before, you mentioned that after one of your longer ultra marathons, you could have kept going. Like you crossed the finish
Yeah.
line, you could have just kept on going. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people after that would have been like, you know what, let's run another one?
Yeah, I wish I would have, but I had my dad had come with me. He was my driver to an event a couple of hours away, and
Yeah.
he was like there waiting for me at the finish line. Like I literally could have, if he wasn't there, I would have just kept going and probably done win another, I don't know, 10 to 15 miles or something like that. Just to, I don't know, just went until I couldn't go
Yeah.
anymore. I'm not sure how much further I could have gone. But yeah, it has been so much easier to do endurance uh hoofing, as I say, since I've gone low carb. That's the other thing. When I first started this, I would still use, just the junk that they put out at these races, like, oh, because
Yes.
you need to be able to get through your race that way. And I don't know, it was like mess with my brain. I was constantly
Mhm.
thinking I needed something that I didn't need. And now that I am able to differentiate between cravings and hunger, I just don't really have that temptation anymore, which is sort of funny to pass the aid station, because these people are eating like M&Ms and bananas, sandwiches or whatever else, because they're just trying to get these like,
Yeah.
cheap carbs real quick. And I'm like, I don't need anything, but thank you. Here, I'll take some water. And I just keep going.
Yeah, no, that's and what you said on the cravings versus hunger, that was huge to me. That was probably the big. I didn't even realize there was such a massive difference. And like you said, now when I get hungry, it's hunger. It's not a craving. It's not dopamine driven. It's hunger. It's my body's signal, natural signal saying, get some food. If I'm doing something important, all right, I'll eat in the next 30 minutes to an hour, but I'm not just going to drop everything and have a one track mind on that donut like I used to. We're used to, oh, I got a sweet tooth. You know what? I need to go over here and get this. And I'm going to, it's a motivational thing. You will stop what you're doing, even if it's something important, you'll stop, go get that fix. And there's a huge difference between the two. And basically it puts you in the driver's seat. When the cravings are in control, they're driving the car. When hunger's in control, that's you driving the car, and you can just answer that call when you can. You mentioned wanting to be vulnerable about some mistakes. Let's talk about that. What held you back or slowed you down?
Yeah. Again, I was such a terrible carnivore those first couple of years. I thought that uh, you could cheat and, if you cheat, you just get back on track. Which you do need to get back on track. So I'm not telling somebody not to get back on track. What I'm telling you is don't cheat. You're cheating yourself is all you're doing.
Yeah.
And I used to have a mentality like, well, it's not a religion. I don't need to, I don't have to be super strict with it. But actually being strict with it and having discipline with it is what helps you the most. So that's why it's almost hard for me to say exactly when I started carnivore, because I started doing carnivore very poorly, and I didn't.
Call it carnivore-ish maybe for a
Yeah,
while, and then
carnivore-ish. And the
yeah.
thing is, you get people online that say things like, "Oh yeah, I do a shot of honey before I work out," or that sort of stuff. So I was like experimenting with those sorts of things. Which, by the way, you're just gonna totally like rid yourself of any ketogenic benefits by doing shots of honey. Don't do shots of honey.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree. I agree. Yeah.
but I was just so bad at it. And a lot of it was because I was ignorant. The thing is, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree. I'm actually in the dissertation phase of a PhD. So I'm not an idiot, but I was an idiot when it came to nutrition. I knew absolutely nothing about nutrition. So it was hard for me to discern when I'm like watching people online or influencers or YouTube videos, or even when
Mm.
I'm reading something. I mean, how I'm able to discern and differentiate between um, just the things people say was hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I knew how to evaluate research, but I
Mhm.
also, because of taking statistics at a PhD level, I know how much BS there is in
Yes.
research. Like you can make research say whatever you want it to say about anything. And I
Bingo.
know that. So
Bingo.
anytime somebody tries to slam with, well, but this study or that study, I mean, I'll evaluate the study. I'm not going to say all studies are BS, but like I know that you can make anything say anything.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's the thing. People go, oh, isn't this just anecdotal? I'm like, yeah, but it's an anecdote that worked for me, buddy.
Well,
you
yeah.
know,
If it
it,
thank you. If it's a personal anecdotal thing, yes, I think that weighs a little heavier, right?
yeah. But I didn't know what I was doing. Again, so many of you non-ignorant people, when you talk about these things, you're really able to get to the causation of all this. You're able to like explain in great, deep scientific terms.
Yeah.
My degree is, very theological, and I am able to lead people spiritually, but I sort of missed out on things like, I mean, I never took nutrition. Come on, that's why I ate Little Debbie's growing up. you know, Terrible for you. But uh, I hope that regular people, I am a regular person, don't feel, those people don't have to feel intimidated. You don't have to have it all figured out before you
Yep.
try it. Because I did the cliche phrase, build the plane while flying it. That's basically what I had to do. I didn't understand these things. I didn't know why it was helping me, but I'm still
Yeah.
glad that I ended up where I did. So while I did have a couple of years of struggle of carnivore before I ended up in a carnivore place that I really think is much healthier and better for me, hey, I'm glad that I went through it. So I hope that regular people don't feel like you have to have a doctoral degree in nutrition before you do something about nutrition in your own life.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. And just to touch on, I'm glad you mentioned like the causation versus correlation thing, because there is such a plethora of bad studies out there that'll find a correlation and automatically like just say it's causation. And it's crazy. I mean, just to date, there has not been a single study done on people eating a carnivorous diet of, say, the lion diet, say ruminant meat and red meat and saturated fat, to find a causative link. In every study they've done, they've eaten that and a bunch of other crap. You know what I mean? And then they go, oh, red meat is so bad for you. It's going to kill you 5 different ways. And saturated fat's going to clog your arteries and your heart's going to explode. And there's never been any proof at all that it's such a bad thing. The other one's cholesterol. I mean, there's so many studies that just made it out to be the villain. But just stop and think. I'm not going to go too deep on this, but think about a chicken egg. The yolk of that egg has a high percentage per volume of that thing. There's a lot of cholesterol in that thing. Why would there be that in the essence of life that's going to turn into a baby chick? A baby human infant, the day they're born, they have more than 1 trillion particles of LDL floating through their blood. If LDL were the bad guy that they've made it out to be, they'd need to put that baby on a statin the day it's born, and they'd be having heart attacks and strokes. Clearly, something's not. We're not getting the whole picture here, and so you got to look at the study, you got to look at the quality, you also got to look at who's benefiting financially from the outcome of this study and who funded it, because a lot of times that right there is the telltale thing. So yeah, a lot of people listening aren't medical experts. They feel like they don't know enough. What would you say to someone who feels unqualified or overwhelmed? And you've already kind of touched on this, but is there anything that you'd like to say to them?
Yeah. So I would say a couple things. One is it is helpful to find community and to have people to talk to. I did a lot of it sort of alone the first couple years, and it was really hard. Find people online. That's the cool thing about today's day and age, is
Yeah.
there are huge groups of people that you can go and you can read their testimony, you can connect with them, develop friendships with individuals. I just don't think people are created to be alone anyway.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
really hard to be alone. Although that being said, I just decided I didn't care if no one was going with me. I was going to do this because no one else has to live my life. I'm the one who lives my life. But there are lots of communities out there, whether it's the encouragement from listening to a podcast or joining a Facebook group, or even, something official. I know that there's official groups you can join, but find people that you can talk to. It's what's helpful for me, as somebody that I could ask questions to or learn from, but I don't feel like there's enough people out there that share the struggle. There are so many people out there that share how they conquered something, but they don't talk a whole lot about how hard it was along the way. I don't have the cleanest story. So in some ways, I'm very honored to be your first guest, because you picked a dummy.
No,
But
your
I want to
story is
encourage people.
extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And I bet there's more than just a few people that share your exact same scenario more than you think.
Yeah.
Deeply
I
impactful.
just didn't understand. I didn't understand how this was working. I didn't understand the mechanism. I didn't have the verbiage. I mean, I could tell you my defense of cholesterol now, and I can speak out against seed oils now. And I can
Mhm.
tell you about fat to protein ratios now. Like I can articulate those things. I have deep beliefs in those now, but it
Yeah.
took a long time to figure that stuff out. So a lot of I if anybody's listening right now, I want to encourage you to have grace for yourself. You
Mhm.
have to give grace for yourself. You can't automatically have it all figured out at the beginning.
Nope.
It's going to be a process. And so if you make mistakes, jump right back on the train.
Yep.
But I do hope that you will go harder than I went at the beginning. Don't give yourself the freedom to be like, hey, I'm just going to have, I'll have a pizza today or I have, you know, ice cream today. And I was pretty bad at that where I would go over the top. I wouldn't have like, "Well, I'm going to have one piece of pizza. I'd eat the whole pizza. I'm not going to have a little bit of ice cream. I'll eat the whole carton. So I'm sure that there are some behaviors there that, you know, were even worse than if somebody could eat one piece of pizza. The problem is I just don't know of anybody who has like one little bit here and there. I, I don't
I don't
know. That
either.
stuff is
Yeah.
made to be addictive and it's all bad for you.
Bingo. You just hit the
The
nail on the head. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, the alcohol side.
Mhm.
Alcohol's just so bad for you. Like,
Yeah.
it's bad to every cell in your body, and I come
Mhm.
from, like, a social drinking background. Again, it's just a very social type activity, but what would happen is I would get bored, and I'd just be sitting around the house, it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I'll have a drink," That those become very poor habits. So, if I can encourage people to reduce it as much as you can, I know that doesn't mean you have to be a teetotaler forever, but reducing it makes a huge difference. My sleep got better. I just feel like every part of my body got better by significantly reducing drinking.
Yeah. Exactly. And you don't need a degree to notice when your inflammation disappears. It's very clear, especially if it's been beating you up. And so I couldn't agree more. I think that, if you're someone out there that has been told you have, because I mean, I'm on the other side of the thing here. And I actually somewhat considered it to be a disadvantage. I am a healthcare professional. I'm a pharmacist. I did understand the physiology and the pathophysiology of this disease, but also understood that it was autoimmune. And they were basically saying there's no cure. There's no way it's ever going to go away. It's only going to be managed for the rest of your life. But I did remain hopeful that I could overcome it. I did not want to just accept that because I had been healthy for 2.5 decades before I got sick. But I understood how these drugs worked, and I had full faith that they would work. That was the problem. That's what kept me on that train longer than I should have stayed on there, because I tried dozens of medications and got on some pretty dangerous ones, to be honest with you. And eventually it just got so bad that they were telling me I may not survive if it kept getting this bad. And that's when I finally got desperate enough to try some crazy and preposterous diet like carnivore. And all of a sudden, it blew my absolute mind. Do you think they taught that? You think that was part of my degree? That was as far away as it could be. So I was almost at a disadvantage. So, yes, I have to agree strongly with what Kyle just said. Listen to your body. I mean, give it, you're going to know better than any doctor can tell you, or better than Google or any, whatever you could look up about if you're feeling well or not. And don't be afraid to just because you get labeled with something and it's a dire thing, don't just automatically accept that. There's a chance that we can get to the bottom of it. All right, so time for a little fun. Kyle, it's time for a lightning round. I'm going to call it the
Ooh,
carnivore confessions. Rapid fire,
okay,
honesty only. Okay, you ready? Okay,
I guess.
all right, here we go. What is the most non-carnivore food you've ever fallen off the wagon for?
Oh, probably Reese's ice cream. I
Okay.
used to. I don't even know if we should call that food because I mean, none of it's good for you. Although, this is how stupid I was when I first started. I used to think, oh, ice cream, that part of that comes from a cow, right?
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. And I've
But
done
that's
the
just a
same thing.
drug.
And you take
Reese's
one
were
bite and
my drug.
you think you're gonna have one little cup of it, and then you eat the whole gallon. Yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah.
What old food do you still think about sometimes?
I don't. It's interesting because I just don't think a whole lot about I mean, every once in a while, maybe I'll have like a smell of pizza or something like that, and I sort of remember about how good things used to be. Uh, but I just don't think about it much anymore. I'm glad I'm finally past that because early on that was tough.
Yes. Okay. What's one carb you'll never touch again?
Carb?
Carbohydrate.
Um, I don't bread, just any sort of bread.
Okay. What's the funniest reaction someone had when they found out you eat only meat?
I mean, I was in Fort Worth this summer for a work event, and
Yeah.
I had gone to a steakhouse. And each night I was there, I just went to the same steakhouse. And there was another couple who I guess they were also in town for some other work thing, and they noticed that I was just ordering just a steak. So they actually came over. They're like, "We saw you just eating steak," and they're like, "Are you one of those people eating carnivores?" That just eats carnivore. I said, "Actually, I am." So we had a really good little conversation,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I just need to figure out how do you poop? How do you poop?" What to me, it's while that is a legitimate question, it is a hilarious thing to ask a stranger.
Yes, it is. Did
Like
you
to
give
go
her
up
an
to a
elaborate
stranger,
response?
and it was funny because I said, "Hey, listen, I'll talk to you about it if you really want to know," you know? And so we literally, with the stranger, while I was eating a steak, I talked to her about my bowel movements.
Well, there you go. Hopefully you put her at ease.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
What's the most ridiculous myth someone has told you about carnivore?
Probably low fat, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you need to be low fat." I'm like, "That's like the most dangerous thing you could do on carnivore." You
Yep.
know? There actually are ways you could do carnivore that could be detrimental, and
Yep.
that would be going low fat. So don't do that.
Listen to him. Say it louder. Yes. What's the number one thing you wish you could tell your old self?
I just wish, I mean, definitely at the beginning of carnivore, I wish I would have gone so much more pure in carnivore.
Mhm.
So that's the 2022 self, but I wish I could go back to the child in me and like say, "Hey, don't eat zebra cakes, don't eat sugary Kool-Aid, or don't drink sugary Kool-Aid, don't
Mhm.
drink sodas."
Yep.
I wish I could go tell myself like how that alcohol is really bad for every cell in your body. I wish I
Mhm.
could go back. And I was never like, I know I'm talking a lot about alcohol here. I've never been like an alcoholic. I just think that it's so bad for folks. And
Mhm.
I was always thinking about like the social side of things or maybe the spiritual side of things, but just like purely physiologically, it's like so bad for you. So I wish I could go back and tell various versions of myself that, but I can't. So all I can do is move forward now.
Bingo. Yeah. Sounds like you just list off the poisons to avoid. Okay. Ultra marathoner mode lightning round. No thinking, first answer only. Ribeye or brisket?
Ribeye.
Lion diet or full carnivore?
I'm gonna go lion diet.
Snowstorm or heat wave?
Oh, heat wave.
Hills or flat ground?
Flat ground.
Salt the hell out of it or keep it clean?
Just keep it clean.
10-mile run or 10-minute ice bath?
Oh, 10-mile run.
Training playlist. Silence, metal, or worship music?
Let's go silence.
Favorite cut of meat during marathon prep?
Probably ribeye.
Worst part of running on carbs?
Needing to use the restroom mid race.
Best part of running on fat?
Limitless energy.
Okay. This game's called Meat or Myth. I'm going to say a statement. You tell me if it's true, meat, or false, myth. You need
Okay.
carb for endurance.
That's a myth.
Eating only meat causes scurvy.
That would be a myth, or I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yes, sir. Saturated fat is dangerous.
That is a myth. I get the theme here.
You can't build muscle without carbs.
Oh, that's a myth.
The brain needs glucose from food.
Another myth.
Fiber is essential.
No, that's another myth.
High protein damages the kidneys.
Oh, another myth. Another myth.
Red meat shortens your lifespan.
I think that's going to be a myth. but I'm not
Women,
dead yet.
women can't do carnivore safely.
Oh no, come on, no.
Yeah.
Women are humans. We're equal opportunity carnivores here.
There you go. You picked up on the theme pretty quick. All right, this is the dad life round because you're a family guy. Which is harder, marathon training or keeping your kids alive?
Jeez. Uh, I mean, keeping my kids alive is the from the anxiety side of that. Especially my younger one is the one who, bangs his head on coffee tables and is always sliding into things. And
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
he's we call him our urgent care child. My older one was always real careful. My younger one's like, you're having to grab him in parking lots and you're like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely that part of it. The training for ultramarathons is a gift. It's just fun.
Okay. What's the coolest thing you can do with your kids now that carnivore gave you your energy back?
Oh, I can finally beat him in sports.
There
You
you
know,
go. Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
I don't know how much longer that's going to last because they're both much more athletic than me.
Uh-huh.
But I can get out there and actually hold my own, whereas like before, it was embarrassing.
Oh yeah, I know the feeling. What's one lesson you hope they learn from your transformation?
Yeah, I mean, I know they're watching me.
Uh-huh.
My older son will come home from basketball sometimes and be like, "Hey, Dad, can you cook me a steak?" And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." They're seeing discipline and healthy patterns that I didn't see growing up.
No.
That's not a jab at my parents. They didn't know what they didn't know. It's fine.
Yeah.
It is
Exactly.
what it is.
Right.
I hold nothing against them, but
Mhm.
uh, my kids are seeing the things that I didn't see at all growing.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Most dad-like thing you've done this week?
Most dad-like thing that I've done. Took my kid to s- scrimmages. I feel like I have different parts of my life. I'm like a minister. I do ultramarathons, a carnivore. I do
Yeah.
stand up. But probably the biggest thing is I am a chauffeur to my kids to their sports because I have two boys who each play three sports, and so
Wow.
I'm just constantly shuttling them to wherever. So that's fine, and that's another thing. I know it doesn't last forever. They love
Mhm.
it. I love it for them.
Yep.
That is just something that I spend a lot of time doing.
Absolutely, and it goes by faster than you would think. Who wins a race? You or your kids?
Uh, I can I can beat my 6-year-old, but my 9-year-old is gonna beat me in just about any race at this point. Doesn't matter. Here, if we get past maybe 3 miles, I'm pretty sure I can take them because they would quit,
More of an
but
endurance thing. Yeah, yeah.
anything under a 5K, I'm pretty sure my 9-year-old would beat me. My 6-year-old, he doesn't have the endurance yet, so I can still beat a 6-year-old. That's how athletic I am.
All right, and this is a good question here. This may be maybe the most important one I'll ask you today. So, if the world had to forget everything you said today except for one truth, what's the one thing you want people to remember?
You are what you eat in the most literal way. You are what you eat.
That's powerful. That's deep. That's simple and powerful. All right, Kyle, you're launching something new. Miles Meets Mike's. Tell everyone what that's about and where they can find you.
Yeah, so I want to be able to interact with the world around in a different way. So miles is going to be around some of my miles I put on the road. Meats is going to be around carnivore type things, and then Mike's maybe some of my stand up comedy. Uh,
Love
these are just things that I love to do. They're my hobbies, they're my passions. So I would love to interact with you. If you're listening to this, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, X, or TikTok. Please reach out. I'd love to support you and encourage you. I receive so much support and encouragement throughout my journey, and I'd love to pay it forward to other individuals.
Awesome. Kyle, I'm proud of you, brother. Your story is powerful, honest, and it is going to change a lot of lives. Thank you for being my very first guest on Meet the Truth. And everyone listening, if this episode opened your eyes, made you think, or gave you even one spark of hope, share it with someone who needs it. Healing doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be honest. You're not broken. You're not stuck. You're one decision away from a completely different life. This is Meet the Truth, where real answers are simple, primal, and life-changing. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to Meet the Truth, a Carnivore X production. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs the truth. Stay primal, and I'll see you in the next one.
This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Please consult your qualified healthcare professional for any health decisions.